After Derek sealed the deal on the buck we called Big Tex opening morning of the 2023 season, we decided to pump the brakes a little bit and get some scouting done. We had some hot weather moving in, but we had a cold front that was going to push through on October 5th. So we had a few days to get scouting done and hang some sets to focus on Kong and our other hit lister, the Big 7. Kong and the Big 7 have been running buddies since early summer. And a little bit of backstory on the Big 7. We've never had history of this deer, and we've never seen him before up till the summer when he moved in onto a soybean field where Kong and some of the other young bucks were feeding on. So we knew if the Big 7 slipped up, he would also get an arrow. Big mature buck, really cool character, and big eye guards. But our focus deer was Kong. We figured he was pushing 180, just crazy mass, and just an all-time great deer for us. We have a lot of history with Kong, sheds from 2021 season and 2022. The property that these bucks were summering on was 100 acres, and we really never could get a good pinpoint of where they were bedding at. So we decided to cross the property line and go on to our other permission piece across the highway where there's a big acorn ridge, and there's a bottleneck where there's a 2-track road on top of the ridge, and on the bottom side there's a creek. So these deer, when they come off across the hayfield and across the highway to go back to bed, they have to pinch at this bottleneck. And we found 4 massive scrapes right there on the bottleneck on the field edge where we knew that these had to be the bucks that we were seeing cross onto this 100 acres to feed on the soybeans. And so what we figured out from a neighbor, they actually saw the bucks cross one evening from the bottleneck side onto the other 100-acre property. So we knew we needed to get a set hung on that bottleneck on those scrapes. And with this cold front pushing through on October 5th, we knew our best chance of killing these bucks were right there on that bottleneck, catching them before they go to the 100-acre property to go feed in the evenings, and maybe even catch them back in the mornings coming back to stage up on that acorn ridge past the bottleneck. We deployed a cell cam on those 4 scrapes on the bottleneck side, and the first morning that camera was up, Kong worked those scrapes at 6:27, going back to bed up on the acorn ridge. So he ended up doing what we thought they had been doing, crossing the highway from the food source, going back to bed. So from that point on, it was game on.
We sat here till noon. Sat here for a few hours and didn't see a deer, but we're gonna get down, regroup. I'm gonna go pull a double set while Derek does his civil duty and goes to see his mom and sister. I'm gonna pull that double set and go hang it on the bottleneck, which is about 0.7 miles from here. We moved it out this morning, and that's where he was this morning at 6:45. And we're thinking he bedded up on that acorn ridge that funnels down to those scrapes. So we're gonna hang a set probably on his 9 in the morning, unless the cameras tell us otherwise. So the weather's just getting better and better. High pressure's going up. We're gonna slip down and go get to work.
Well, guys, we just came over here where we talked about this morning to set up on the bottleneck. We had Colin on camera at 6:30, and then at 6:30, 6:40, and he was working back up right here towards this ridge, about 100 yards from where we hung the set. We found a scrape, but about 25 yards down from the scrape, there was 4 big scrapes, and they were fresh. So we think this is where he's been spending most of his time, and what he's doing is he's staging on this big bend area on this ridge. And then he's going across the highway to our other spot where he's been on the feeder. And now I got stuck. But I think that's what he's doing. We got all kinds of sign in here. There's rubs. The scrape sign in here is crazy. And for this early in the year, if you find a scrape like that, you better be hunting it. Especially with these cold days coming. But we're going to go home, get cleaned up, and get in this set. We're not too high off the ground, but we couldn't get any higher because of the canopies. And we have a shooting lane right to the 4 scrapes, and then we can shoot back up on this ridge. So I think we got him found. If we don't kill him tonight, we're going to kill him in the next 2 days, I think, out of that set. Too much sign in here. Derek and I, when we were hanging that set, we
we have a north wind, and we could literally smell the buck piss in these scrapes. It was crazy. It smelled like rutted buck in there. So we're excited. We're gonna get in there, hopefully within the next hour.
We gotta make it quick.
The good thing about these deer in here, it's farm country. My uncle's always in and out of here, so I don't think we made too much racket. Seemed like we were probably just checking the cows to them. But we're gonna shag and get back in there and hopefully get a big boy on the ground. Well, we just got settled in. We're gonna get everything set up. We have a north wind that's doable, but we have had a northeast wind, which is absolutely perfect. It's blowing back towards a road and a creek, and these deer are funneling. There's a ridge that runs to the east here, and that's where they're funneling back from. He went to bed. He was on a scrape right over here this morning, and there's 4 scrapes. I don't know if you can see it, but there's elements. There's 4 monster scrapes they've opened up. So we're gonna get set up, and hopefully we get away with it. We put some scent down, obviously being in here, but sometimes that hanging hunt's the best chance you got that night. So we're gonna sit in tight, and hopefully we get enough of these bucks.
When this young buck worked in, we were on the edge of our stands because he runs with Kong and the Big 7 in the bachelor group that feeds across the highway. Those bucks didn't work in that evening, but we knew seeing this buck we were in the right spot. So now it was just time to hunt and sit tight and wait for the big boys to do it.
He's still up there in the woods.
Was it too back? It was quarter.
No, dude, he's... Yeah. I can't find him. Dude, like... We didn't even have time to think.
No, I know.
He was on top of us,
yeah.
dude. He was 9 yards.
Lance helped us out a little bit because he just got distracted and I could get turned around and get my bow, you know?
Yeah, he started calling the cows. So he's looking back at you, dude, and you had just enough time to get your bow.
So then once he started to come this way, that's when I was like, hey, you know, can you swing over?
Yeah. And dude, because I was like ready.
Yeah.
Because I raised this thing up.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was going to commit.
Yeah.
And then when he didn't, this tree.
Yeah.
And I was like,
oh yeah, we weren't expecting to
dragging
shoot
that
one
thing.
5 yards right here, you know?
dude, 5 yards.
Just a beast of old 7, dude. Big brows,
Shaking,
chocolate
dude.
black, dude.
Dude, that is a giant.
Well, guys, we just stuck the Big 7. Derek and I were sitting here talking about game plans for the evening hunt. And Gnarls, the big buck that we have several years of history with that's still in velvet, was over there this morning at 7:30, daylighting. So we were trying to get a game plan for him. And Derek goes Big 27 is standing 8 yards under our tree looking at him. So that gave me a little bit more chance to catch him off guard to get turned and grab my bow, because I was turned like this, facing away from him. And Derek was communicating with me, telling me when I could stop and needed to stop if he was looking in our area or in our general area. So I got turned around, grabbed my bow, got settled in, and my uncle drove off in his truck with the cows. And he actually, instead of going down the trail we needed him to go to, he turned back into the thick stuff. And he got within 8 yards right here to my left, and Derek had to turn on this side of the tree. As always, it was not where we had a plan to shoot at. I mean, it was like in the thickest part of this area right here. And I had a tiny little window, and I asked Derek if he was good and on him, and he said he was good, so I stopped him. And he was quartering away, and I let it go. I tucked it in there. I thought it was a perfect shot. But he ran up there about 20 yards, and I never saw a lot of blood until he started walking off up the ridge. And he mule kicked and everything, and I saw some blood running down the side, but on instant impact, I never saw any blood. And we reviewed the footage, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if I shot him a little back, and it got liver, but where I shot him, I thought I would have clipped a harder lung. And where it came out was like the offset shoulder. You can see the arrow come through. So I don't know if it deflected, but I mean, I think I had to hit liver, and I wasn't far enough back to hit gut. But it's just really weird. I don't know. It's a little deflating just because of how perfect everything was. And he was quartering away, tucked it in tight, everything looked good. And then you review the footage, and you just don't see the bloody arrow or anything. So I don't know. I mean, I'm shooting mega meats, and the hole on the entry was monstrous. I mean, you can see it in the video. So we're gonna get down, and maybe he's up in here 50 yards just to see if we can find the arrow. But I couldn't get my binos on him when he was in the timber, but I could see blood running down his side. I don't know if it was from just a big gaping cut, or maybe I clipped it, and at first it just didn't start, like an artery, it didn't start instantly squirting out on a pulse. So maybe he's dead up here, but we're gonna get down, and if we need to, we'll give him some time. But October 7th, cold front, high pressure, north wind. It was 9:35, and the big boys are out cruising. We were in here for Kong, but that other buck was in the back of our mind. And Derek and I yesterday talked about if the 7 shows up. We've never had pictures of the 7 here, but we know this is where they funnel to go back from bedding areas. I mean, it's a perfect bottleneck. And Derek was like, if he comes out, are you going to shoot him? And at the time, I wasn't planning on it just because Kong's been in here so much. But we got pictures of Kong on another property away from here, so I doubt, we figured he probably didn't get back in here this morning. So there was no way I was passing that mature brood up. Big 7.8-inch eye gars, super cool character. So I'm tickled pink with him if we can find him. I mean, just perfect. Everything worked out perfect. So hopefully I executed. We can find this deer. Well, guys, we're about. Honestly, it happened so fast. All I know is I had a hole. Like, it happened, like, it's really hard to explain it. But whenever we turned and I got the bow, I feel like it was like an 8-second thing, because he started walking, and we had a tight window before he went back up the ridge to the left, and we probably would have never got a shot. So I knew if it was going to happen, it was going to be then. So whenever I told Derek, I didn't know from Derek's angle if he had a good video of him. And he's like, I'm good. So once I knew that, as soon as he stepped in that hole, I stopped him. And right where his arrow is, I think I shot him a little bit behind where Derek's standing, but the arrow came out right here. And from the video, you can't really see the blood pumping like you would like to see on a harsh shot, but it's just a red carpet up through here. So we're gonna ease up, and I don't know if maybe on the exit we might have hit bottom lung, or maybe even for sure liver. But if we got some lung, if we can find some bubbles in this blood, I would feel more comfortable easing up here. without backing out to give him 4 to 6 hours with that liver shot. But where the arrow hit and the angle with him quartering away, I just don't see how we wouldn't have clipped a lung. But that's bow hunting. Some strange things happen, but we'll start easing up through here and see if we can't get on this blood trail and we'll take it slow because this is super thick. That buck wasn't spooked at all. We shot him in this thick timber and he went up there 20, 30 yards and kind of stopped, looked back, and then just when he was easing off, I saw blood going everywhere. So I don't think he went far. So I just don't want to bump him out. We'll go 20, 30 yards, check his blood out and see if we see any bubbles in it. We're just easing up through here. It's just just blood just pouring. I just don't see how it hadn't hit something major. Only thing that throws me off is on instant contact, on instant impact, there was no instant blood. But dude, the blood is it's dark red.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it was liver, dude, I just don't think liver bleed that, like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, he's bleeding good, yeah.
Yeah.
Look up there.
It's dark, dude. It's just dark.
He went up the hill.
Yeah.
Look at all that blood, dude.
Yeah,
I don't think there's no way.
You can just see it pouring out the bottom hole. It's just pouring. It looks like somebody literally. He crossed the road up here.
Did he?
Well, that G-track right there.
Oh yeah, dude. Look at that
That's
blood.
a lot of blood, buddy.
That's a ton of blood there. I would just stay on it, dude. He's bleeding good. Until it closes up, you know? If it does.
Well, we got probably 30 yards into this timber on this blood trail. It's one of the craziest constant blood trails I've ever seen. And I don't know from hitting the deer low, maybe on instant impact, because we didn't see blood at first. But maybe it's because I hit him lower in his cavity, so the blood was inside of him. But now with that exit hole, it's just pouring. But Derek found this leaf, and that's a obvious bubble right there. So we definitely clipped a lung, probably on the entry. But we can literally look up here 20, 30 yards and see blood all the way. Look, just a perfect trail. So I think we're good to go to keep on easing in here. And hopefully find this big 07 point, dude. I had to just hit one more.
Yeah.
That's probably why he's carrying it so far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I just hit one lung. The angle, I shot a little low and back, and I probably clipped that inside lung, and then whenever it hit, that arrow kicked out weird. But there's bubbles all in this. We probably walked 60, 70 yards, maybe. I mean, and haven't had to look for blood. We're just following a trail. Looks like somebody got a ketchup bottle and was just squeezing it the whole way up through here. And the thing is, it's dark blood and there's bubbles. I mean, it's gotta be lung, dude. Has to. This thing's covered in bubbles. Can you zoom in on that?
Yeah, let's see.
Oh no. Gonna pick up on that?
Yeah.
That's a bubble.
Yeah, for sure.
Popped it. We're still on blood. We're getting bubbles in the blood.
Look up there on that leaf.
On top of this ridge. I don't know, probably 100 yards. Probably 120. I just don't think he's scary. We'll ease up a little further and check it out. See if we need to back out. We don't want to push him. I just don't know. I don't think he's alive with the blood and sign that we're getting.
Bigger pile up there.
He's been out of the tree, or we've shot him. It was 9:30 when we shot him. Let me see what time it is. Yeah, it's been an hour and 10 minutes since we shot him. So, I mean, if it's liver, well, obviously we need to give him longer, but we gave him some time. All right, well, we'll just keep easing up.
Yeah. Let me know what you found out.
All right, see it. Well, I mapped it, and it's roughly about 180 yards from the stand. And we're finding bubbles. Good blood, he's clotted a little bit. But, I mean, for 100 to 120 yards, it was like somebody was pouring blood out of a cup. But I'm thinking we clipped a lung. I mean, had to get a bottom of a lung. So we're just going to keep easing up through here. I'm going to go ahead and get my bow out just to be safe. But it's been an hour and 50 minutes now since we shot him. And I'm surprised he hadn't bled out. I shot a buck probably 6-7 years ago, and I liver shot him. And he didn't go like 80 yards. So, I think it just depends on how fast they bleed out. But maybe I only clipped that one partial lung, and then the angle of that arrow kicking out, it didn't hit any of his backside organs, hit his other lung or any of the other stuff on the exit side. And so maybe he's carrying it a little further than we think, but I just don't see him being alive. But we'll just ease up a little bit further and see. That there.
I'll let you get Tristan. I'm cleaned up. You don't matter, dude.
That's the deer god. Coming to find him.
Alright guys, it's been 3.5 hours since I shot that buck. And we tracked him probably 400 or 500 yards. And he went down into the bottom of a ridge, super, super thick, briars all in there, cedars, and it was on the backside of a hill on the bottom of a ridge. And we were making our way up through there, and I had my arrow and bow in hand, ready to go, and I was looking down at the blood, and we bumped him up. And he jumped up, and when he jumped up, he went through a bunch of briars, barely made it out of the cedar tree. And he jumped into what we call the big bottom, which is about a 120-acre field. And my dad ran out real quick to see where he crossed. Well, when we ran out there, Dad called us over, and so we go over there, and he's barely making it off the field. I mean, he's tanked. He got probably 200 or 300 yards down that field and was barely walking. I thought he was going to fall over. And where he went into is Big Sandy, and there's about a 20-foot drop, and then on the other side, there's a big drop up out of Sandy into some big more bedding. So I don't think he's gonna be much further than that. We're gonna back out, go change, go get some lunch, and then come back. But I think he'll just be either right there in the creek or maybe on the other side. He barely made it off the field. It's one of those deals. It'd be different if we saw a buck with a lot of energy sprinting across that field, but he was literally walking with his head down, and he wasn't walking a really good straight line. So I think it's a dead deer. So we're gonna back out and get back out here. So stay tuned. All right, guys. This is the Big 7. We knew he was gonna die. He barely made it off the hayfield. So we backed out and we came in today. We were just hoping we'd find him. We were finding decent blood, and we finally got on him and recovered him. But so going into this year, I don't know this buck at all. He showed up on camera late July, early August with another big 8-point that I knew of from last year, and I don't know if he was just a buck that moved in the rut and found some of our food source and decided to stay, but he's a mature buck, and I'm super, super happy with this deer. Beautiful early season buck, perfect weather, and I'm just thankful to be able to hunt these amazing creatures and to spend it with my buddies. And this is our passion, and we love doing it. And I'm just so thankful we were able to recover this buck. And we're going to keep after him. We have some other target bucks. Kong's the main one I'm going after right now. Hopefully there's another buck that's still in velvet that I shot last year. And I don't know if the wound from me injuring him had something to do with his pituitary gland and not allowing him to produce testosterone. But we know for sure it's the same deer, and he's full velvet.
and I don't think he's coming out of it. So we have a couple bucks going into this season that we're still looking forward to, and the rut bucks that are hopefully going to show up. But super excited, and I'm just so thankful to be able to spend it with Derek, one of my best friends, to be able to video this caliber of a buck and just be in the woods and doing what we love. So just tickled about this deer. Super big eye guards, just a lot of character, really good mass, and just a mature buck. So we're gonna keep after him and hopefully get another big one on the ground.
Once we cleaned the Big 7 and analyzed his organs, you can tell from the picture I clipped his heart and I clipped his liver. These animals are so resilient and tough, it never ceases to amaze me. I'm thankful for the chase for the Big 7, and he ended up going 1,300 yards after the heart shot.